In this video, we're going to be talking about the registration of BobCAM for RHINO from inside of RHINO. So I'm going to launch RHINO 6 right here. Just double click on it. And we're just going to wait for it to load up. Now when it loads up, the first time it's going to say preparing plugins for first use. And this is going to be our BobCAM for RHINO. It's looking for this RHP file from inside of your C drive. So I'm just going to click on here and just wait, and eventually it's going to pop up with our registration wizard for BobCAM. So if you're requesting a demo license, you could walk through, say next, and this is going to allow you to enter in all your information and request a demo license. And then you're just going to put that demo license on your desktop, and then you're going to come down here and actually just load it in. It's a very simple process. You're just going to walk through the whole process. Now, we also have request automatically via the internet, meaning you're going to have a license ID and a password that registers the software. Whether it's a license for a network or just a standard standalone license, that's where you're going to do it. And then if the computer that you're running on doesn't have internet, you can also manually register via email. So this is where you go in, say register via email, you'll say next. You'll enter in your license ID and password, and that's going to email you an activation. You will have to do that on a computer that is connected to the internet, but then you can bring the license to the computer that needs it. So for me, I'm just going to say request automatically via the internet, and then I'm going to enter in my license ID and my password. So I have these over here. I'm just going to copy and paste right there and right there. Now mine is a network license. So when I hit next, I'll also have to register my network, which just means I have to enter in some information about where it's coming from. So I have to enter in my host name. If you have a network license, you'll have to do the same thing. You'll have your host name and your port number. If you're just using a node license where it's just the license itself, no network licensing, you shouldn't have to do this part. But for me, I just enter that in. I say next. And then right here is all of my information. So it's got my license ID right there. So you're going to want to make sure you write that down so you know which license ID you're using, as well as your customer ID, just in case you need to call tech support and ask them a question. That's how we know who you are. So when I'm done with that, I could say finish, and then it's just going to continue loading my BobCAM in the background. And then this thing that pops up is telling you that we're collecting anonymous data on what's being used inside the software. We don't have any way of tracing this back to you specifically. It's all very anonymous. We're just really looking at what features are being used inside the system. And if you want to turn this off, you can go to Settings, General, and then you could turn this option off. So for me, I'm just going to hit OK. And then I'm just going to wait for the RHINO plugin to finish right here. So I'm just going to wait for it to prepare for the first use of BobCAM for RHINO. And eventually that box is going to disappear and you're going to have BobCAM running. So now in the next video, we're going to go through on how to enable and disable the BobCAM plugin from inside of RHINO. And that concludes the video on the registration process for BobCAM for RHINO.